late high school, I was pretty directionless, and Dad said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'll take a year off and party." "No, you're not." I said, "Well,
that sounds like a good plan."
Yeah, so maybe I'll join the Army, because I was always, Grandpa was a Marine, uncles were Army, Dad was Army. That passion to serve has always been there. So I can't party. I looked at Dad and I said, "I'll join the Army like you did." And he says, "No, they're going to put you on the fat man squad and run your ass skinny." So that was a big no.
This is going to hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Not everything that is legal is harmless. Heroin and cocaine were once prescribed by doctors for pain relief and energy revitalization. Over time, the damages we're seeing to far outweigh the benefits. It is often not the use of any pharmaceutical, but rather the abuse. Common household aspirin can have many unwanted side effects if not used without caution. Once that use starts to delve into the recreational is where the hazards lie. Something that was previously thought to be dangerous may actually turn out to have benefits that will exceed the most wild expectations. The science is forever evolving, and perspectives are changing daily. As a society, we must stop to wade through the information so that an asset is not overlooked. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Falace, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, comment. Now you can join, and please ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content. Follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. On tonight's episode of the Suffering Podcast, we have somebody that we've been speaking to for quite some time, and that's Ryan Fowler, to discuss the suffering of psychedelics. Kind of gives it away what we're going to talk about.
I didn't even know. I mean, thanks for telling me now.
Well, thanks for bringing in that mushroom pizza. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So we should start seeing things pretty soon. Before we get started into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. As police officers, we don't trust anybody, but we do trust them. So go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car. Obviously, they were able to find Mr. Falace a car, so that's always a good thing.
And he hasn't. Well, I was going to put it out there, but he still hasn't. Let's put it that way.
Still hasn't crashed it?
Oh, see, now you had to do. I was going to go there.
And of course, go visit the Cubita Cafe. All right, this guy, Gus, over there, he is an absolute artist. He makes all his food by hand. You know, this isn't one of those fly-by-night empanada stands.
Bodega empanada stands.
This is a true artisan place. You're going to get top-shelf food from a top-shelf chef.
It's
and
234 Franklin Avenue in Nutley.
Yeah.
And I've eaten there before. The food is fantastic. Believe me, it's excellent.
We sent a couple friends over there today, and they can attest to that. I have not made it over there yet, and Gus is breaking my balls about it. So I will get over there very, very soon. But I can't wait to taste the food. People are talking it up. I will get over there. So go to Cubita Cafe and sit down and have a nice meal. So Ryan,
before we do have some guests out in the
yes, we do.
In the control room.
Yes,
there.
we do. And we wanted to throw a big shout out to them.
And I was told to do this to you all day.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it's better than eating potato chips than talking on the phone. Ryan, as you know, I know you've watched the show before. We take a question from our audience every week. This question comes from Techie526. Now, I know this is going to be a good one for you because I know you've had these conversations. So what's the most difficult conversation you've had with yourself in the mirror? Ryan, you're our guest. Why don't you take this one first?
I've been stressing over this, wondering what you're going to ask, because I listen to the beginning and the end of every episode, and I think about that.
You don't listen to the middle?
Listen to the middle, too.
Well, it was a toss-up between this question and what size is your condom? Because we got a whole box of them out there for you.
Who wears condoms?
The Suffering Podcast condoms.
Yes, they got the little lightning bolt on them. Yeah.
Got self-love. I have, until recently, and I'm talking a couple of weeks ago, I didn't figure out how to like myself, love myself, how to accept myself.
I love myself at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah. Again, the
different type of
the
self-love.
daily prostate maintenance.
Yes.
I've never been comfortable in my own body, or comfortable mentally with myself until a couple of weeks ago.
Well, did that come from something long ago?
I don't know. You know, we've you and I have been talking since August, and I've been digging, trying to find out where my issues come from.
Where the disconnect is.
Yeah, yeah, and I think some of us are just messed up.
So there's a bent thing down the road, and how old are you now?
42.
You're 42. Give it some time. Give it some time, because the real trauma in my life didn't start rearing its head till probably my mid 40s, and it's like I describe it this way: it's like watching a movie through clouds, where you'll see certain things crystal clear, and then other things are super foggy, where you can see people in the background, but you can't really make out who they are. So give it some time, and keep searching, because it'll rear its head. Mike, what do you think?
You know, sometimes I just look in a mirror and say, like, why? Like, why did you do that? Yeah, I don't always make the greatest choices in life. You know, and sometimes you make a choice and now you got to live with it. And you just look at yourself in the mirror and say, like, why'd you do that?
As long as it's not one you can't take back.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of explaining to do tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
So why'd you do that?
You get disgusted at yourself.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel that way every time I shave my beard. Disgusting.
Well, you know that's the whole reason people get tattoos and grow beards, because they try to hide themselves.
It's a deflection. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
There's a guy with a goatee and tattoos all over.
I just shaved my beard, so I'm okay. For myself, you know, recently I came across some pictures. And, you know,
that goes back to prostate maintenance.
There's like that separate hidden folder on my computer, you know. And
it was a Playboy magazine. And
I looked at the date of the pictures, and it was like July 30th, late 25th, 30th of 2013. My shooting was July 10th. And, you know, and I had grown. I didn't shave. I stopped taking care of myself. I stopped cutting my hair, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and just it was like I wasn't there. And you've seen that.
I was going to say you had an absent look about you.
So you've seen that picture with me and my wife, and I look like I'm just not there. And of course, when you know, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm not sleeping, and you start you start trimming your beard. Before you know it, you're down to the Hitler mustache. Because every guy does that when they shave their beard. They just do it for like 2 seconds and then they shave it off. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and it just I didn't see any soul looking back at me. So the conversation around that time was when I went into my office with my gun. And that was the most difficult conversation, because I had to look myself in the face and said, you're going to do this now. This is it. This is the last time you're going to look yourself in the mirror. You know, spoiler alert, it didn't happen that way. You know, I failed, but I'm thankful that I failed. That was a very hard conversation to say that this life isn't worth living. Hopefully I never have that conversation with myself again, nor does anybody else have that conversation, but that was the toughest I've ever had. So Techie526, thank you for bringing up bad memories. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for bringing us down at the start of the show.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're supposed to start off really, really good. But no, thank you for sending that question, and keep sending in your questions, and we'll try to get them on the air. So, Ryan, I know quite a bit about you. You got a very interesting life. You got a very interesting backstory. But why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself? Always the toughest question, by the way.
Where to start?
Sperm.
Yeah.
Came out. You went in. Swim.
I'm the shortest guy in the room.
I didn't quite know. Mom and Dad got married late, so I didn't go to prom with Dad and home with Mom. It was later in life.
That's always a good thing. And so, well, you are from the Midwest, so
yeah.
Listen, that's no, I'm sorry.
South of Highway 8, though we call it.
South of Highway. So I spent time. You're in Wisconsin, so I spent time in Wisconsin, and the thing I remember most about Wisconsin is going out, because I would go to the gym. Even when I was traveling, I would go to the gym at 4 in the morning, and going out and looking and just seeing stars that I never knew existed. A lot of corn, too. It was very odd.
Isn't that where the men are men and so are the women?
And the sheep are scared.
But I had to get my cheese hat. You know, I had to get everything. But I was on the board. I was on western Wisconsin, not the eastern Green Bay section. So
yeah, we chatted, and you're just a few miles from where I live now.
Yeah, you know. Well, I'll tell you how long ago it was. Remember when the bridge going through Minneapolis, St. Paul collapsed into the river? I went over that bridge like 2 days before it collapsed. Oh. And I was a little heavier then, so I was probably the cause of it.
That one bump.
Yeah, yeah. So you grew up over in that same area?
Yeah, never left. Born and raised in western Wisconsin. Was from a family of law enforcement on my mother's side. Grandpa and his 3 sons were all involved in law enforcement. My mom was a teacher. My dad came from a big family of 9 kids. They were all farmers and laborers, and they were about an hour east of where I grew up.
And now you're out in the East Coast in this fast-paced. It's faster out here. I tell people that all the time. When I was out there, except for Minnesota, that's different. When I was out there, it was like you care about paying your mortgage, paying for your truck, making sure your gun rack was on properly, and beyond that, there wasn't the. And this is not a dig. This is not a bad thing. There wasn't the drive there was on the East Coast. Like it's go 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 out here constantly. There, it's a nice slower paced, and people are nicer. You come up here, people are dicks.
Well, because everybody's in a rush around here, a rush to get nowhere. Mm-hmm. Especially rush hour traffic and more. Everybody hates going to work, but they're all speeding to get to work.
Yeah, and getting pissed off if they're not getting there 5 minutes early. Well, leave 5 minutes earlier. That's the answer to that. So you liked it? What'd you do growing up?
A lot of hunting and fishing. Dad was an avid outdoorsman. Taught me how to deer hunt. A lot of ice fishing. A lot of fishing in the summertime. We spent a lot of time at our cabin up north. That was on Mom's side. That was Grandpa's favorite place. That was kind of his respite from his life. He was a World War II vet, fought in the Pacific, and never talked about it, but you could tell those issues were there. And then, however many years he was in law enforcement.
All those old timers, man.
He's got a lot built up.
Yeah, those old timers lived a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw our episode with Bob Gibson, World War II vet. He's a different cut of human being.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Still FaceTimes me, though. He'll be 101 on September 4th. Still FaceTimes me to check on me. I should be checking on him, don't you think? But that's the type of people they are. They saw this horror over there, and I'm here because they dropped a bomb. Because my grandfather he came from Italy and then was going into the Pacific, and then they dropped the bombs and they turned around and came back home. But those guys have fought on Iwo Jima and all those different islands over there. They they saw some shit. So did he?
They swallowed it and brought it all home.
Did he get a chance to watch the Pacific?
No, he passed in 2000. Yeah.
Oh, he just missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been an interesting one because I had when Saving Private Ryan came out, I worked with a guy who was at D-Day. Your brother knew who he was, and he went to go see Saving Private Ryan, and he goes at the beginning was just tears. He was a 17-year-old sailor on a ship, so all he saw was the red water, but he watched everything. He had a front row seat to it, and then was reliving it.
No, that sucks.
So high school, any sports? Or you stick with the hunting and fishing?
I got to play hockey for 1 year. It was one of those things that it was just really tough for parents to keep up with, so I never got to do it.
Hockey's a rough sport. It's expensive. There's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
Ice time.
Once I was of age where I could, drive myself, get myself there, we have Play It Again Sports. I bought a bunch of used equipment and just started getting myself there. Mom helped me with all of that, with the equipment, but got to play for 1 year. I had a blast. I was the idiot offsides, pass it to me. I'm open and not understanding it. But other than that, it was boxing was kind of my thing.
Yeah, what drew you to boxing?
I just always had a passion for it. I grew up, I was an 80s baby and fascinated with Mike Tyson.
He almost got knocked out by Jerry Cooney.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I just, the early 2000s boxing, the Gotti Ward trilogy, all of that. I loved all that.
Well, I've been in contact, and it's just to throw this out there, I've been in contact with Michael Moore. And we're working out schedules, but that would be I'd be interested to talk to him. I mean, he lost to George Foreman.
Yeah.
You just lost the heavyweight title to the oldest heavyweight champion ever. So
it's got to be tough.
Was it a smooth transition into law enforcement?
It was weird. Yeah, I wasn't. I was in high school. I graduated in 2000. So the last 4 years of the late 90s, it was law enforcement was transitioning into 4-year degree only. And I had a high school guidance counselor that looked at my grades and my attitude and said, pick a trade and stick with it. So,
hey, thanks.
Yeah. And then, you know, watching my family in law enforcement, they were never wanting for anything, but they weren't living lavishly either. And
that's the way it was for here for a long time. It's like, you're going to do okay. But
Nobody gets in law enforcement to become a millionaire.
Now they do.
You lead a decent life, but
now the contracts in New Jersey are back up to almost 4% per year.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, late high school, I was pretty directionless, and Dad said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'll take a year off and party." No, you're not. I said, "Well,
that sounds like a good plan."
Yeah, so maybe I'll join the Army, because I was always, you know, Grandpa was a Marine, uncles were Army, Dad was Army. That passion to serve has always been there. So I can't party. I looked at Dad and I said, "I'll join the Army like you did." And he says, "No, they're going to put you on the fat man squad and run your ass skinny." So that was a big no. Dad worked for 3M, big company in Minnesota, and he was a machinist. And I always enjoyed machining and welding and stuff in high school, you know, high school shop class. So I kind of thought about tool and die, and he says, "You don't want to do that." He says, "I watch the electricians at work. All they do is change light bulbs and play cards." So I signed up to trade school to be an electrician.
See, I would rather weld, cut wood, than run electric.
It's been good to me. It's not my passion, but the first day on the job, I had a shovel and I'm digging a trench going, "Fuck you, Dad. Where's the playing cards?"
I did the same thing when I got in the pipe fitters union in 87 or 88.
1888.
Yeah. And it was the same thing. I'm like, they make good money. They're doing this. And I was nothing but an apprentice slug. Kid, take this pipe up to the 6th floor. You're walking up stairways with like lengths of pipe. I'm like, this sucks.
Got old after about 3 weeks of doing that.
3 weeks. It got old before lunch on the first day.
You got to keep it interesting as an apprentice. You had to have a building with 2 sets of stairways or 2 elevators. You go up one, go past with the material, back down, back up, pass with the
Change
material.
of scenery.
Well, it just makes it look like you're really busting ass because you keep going by with the pipe on your shoulder.
But the value of a good electrician, that's like finding a good barber or a good mechanic.
A good plumber.
Yeah, a good plumber. You know, you stick with those people forever. So you started off there as an electrician. And I'm assuming, see, that's a good segue into, like, every cop's got a side hustle. And, you know, I know a lot of electricians who are cops. And they just, on their days off, especially around here, they'll do like a 4 and 4 schedule. They'll go do electric for 2 days out of the week, pay for whatever lifestyle they have, and there you go. So how did you find law enforcement then?
Doing electrical work. I did a lot of residential for the first contractor that I worked for. And we started doing these houses that were, you know, they were blue collar, but they were on the bigger size. And they were beautiful. We did one in particular that was really beautiful. And it was a, you know, older than me, but still younger couple. And they were around the house as we were doing the trim work or the finishing. And I got to talking to them, and just out of curiosity, I'm like, well, this is a beautiful home. Had these, you know, like high-end Bosch.
What's your security system look like?
Yeah. And he was a St. Paul cop. And I thought, cops don't make this kind of money. And he says, oh yeah. And we hit it off. We got to talking, and he invited me on a ride along, and man, that was it.
Wow, they let you do a ride along?
I almost did a ride along in Phoenix, Arizona.
Ride along on the east side of St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, that had to be fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Eye-opening.
Wait, yeah, it was, I mean, well, the Mall of America is split, correct?
Yeah, that's more Bloomington. That's south of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Okay.
So
because I accidentally drove through parts of it, and yeah, no, not for me.
Accidentally.
Yeah, I did. Well, I was out there, and I wanted to go to the Mall of America. Well, I got lost. I drove around that loop fucking 10 times. And
kids, Big Ben Pond.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a little backstory to that one. So Mike and I are flying out to Florida to do a bunch of shows in Florida, and I can't find where to park. in Newark Airport, and I'm just driving around. And there's first time we go around, tower. He goes, "Wow, look at the control tower. I always wanted to be an air traffic controller." And we drove second time. I always wanted to be an air traffic controller. Third time, same thing. Fourth time, same thing. We drove around about 6 times. Yeah, that's our airport story. Just to watch me sit on a plane and panic. So you do this ride along, and what was the draw to you?
I think it's the need to serve or have some sort of service, and
but those guys get the shit knocked out of them.
Yeah. And, I've got, we'll get to it, but some addictive tendencies, and that adrenaline dump is, man, there's nothing
And the other thing is it's something different every day.
Yeah.
When you're an electrician, or like I said, as a piper, you're doing the same thing every day.
There's only so many ways to put in an outlet, and the lights either come on or they come off.
Yeah. But in law enforcement, it's something different every day.
It hurts when you get electrocuted.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've gotten hit a couple times. It's not fun, which is probably why. It explains a lot. So
it explains a lot about you now.
Yeah. So what did you do? So I don't know what the process is. You got to walk me through the process in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
So I was living in western Wisconsin, and where I live, it's near the St. Croix River. And as you go west, it's St. Croix River, and then it's St. Paul, and it's Minneapolis, and their surrounding suburbs. I had, I lived in St. Croix County, and that's where all but one uncle and my grandpa had all worked previously. So I had some ties. I had an uncle that was the sheriff in St. Croix County for several years until he passed in 98. So I reached out there just as nepotism was how it worked at the time.
So it's no different than Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, got, used that to get my foot in the door, and found out that Wisconsin didn't require a 4-year college degree. You needed 60 college credits, and they didn't care if it was in basket weaving. So
you had that with electrician work.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even have an associate's degree. I just had college credits and a diploma saying graduated construction electricity, but that was good enough. So at the time I was working for a small family contractor, and he's great people, and he allowed me to work nights or afternoons so I could go to Wisconsin's Recruit Academy, which was, at the time, it was a 13-week program. It was like August to mid-November.
13 weeks. Wow. That's brief.
Yeah.
It's like, what, 21, 22 here?
22 when I went through.
Yeah, it's much longer now.
State police, I think, is 26.
That was 2005. So
you're post 9/11. So I don't know, again, not I was out there pre 9/11, so I don't know what the temperature was like at post 9/11, because here it was nuts. It's different situation.
That was part of it too. 9/11 happened, and I tried to join the military, and I had some medical problems that barred me from that.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, should have, but I was a little too honest.
Blue Oyster
and you
Bar.
told.
Yeah. So when I discovered that I could get in, and that was kind of like the next best thing.
Look, can I ask this? What was the starting salary in 2005?
Oh, I was a part-time sheriff's deputy. I think it was 11 or $12 an hour.
Oh my
God. And it was ride with a full-time deputy on the weekends just as backup, or you'd work special events or security or concerts or things like that. It wasn't, here's the keys in a car, go get them.
So what's the difference between a sheriff's deputy or what you got hired as a full-blown?
It was a stepping stone to work my way into it. So I got hired as a part-time deputy, and that allowed me to go to school, get that certification out of the way. And then I did that for 3 years, where I worked my electrician job during the week, and any opportunity I had, I was jumping in a car on the weekends.
So they just call you and say, hey, we need you tonight?
Yeah, they would, transports and stuff for special events, security. But for the most part, if you wanted to jump in with somebody, you know how it is. Our county operated with single deputy vehicles, and the last thing you want is somebody jumping in with you. But
yeah,
it's going to wake me up at night.
Yeah.
Well, St. Croix, is that metropolitan? Is it?
It's very rural. It's about 800 miles square. It's 33 miles long, 24 miles tall, and it's considered Minneapolis-St. Paul Metro. Depending who you talk to. You talk to the county board, and when it's contract time, we're not St. Paul Metro, but all the crime and overflow we get absolutely was.
And what was the main calls out there at this point?